morning, good evening, good lunchtime, whatever it is, wherever you are. Welcome to Crack the LinkedIn Code with myself, Martin McKenna, and...
Hello, I'm Neil Farmond in Sydney, Portugal. How's it going, everybody? Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thank you for joining us. I can see a whole load of people entering the meeting room, including Saeed from Dortmund. I can see you, Saeed. Thank you for joining us today. We've got some great guests lined up for you, but before we talk about our guests and bring them on screen, I'm just going to let Neil explain what we're doing in terms of technology and how this is all working today.
Well, we always like to explain a little bit about what we're doing in case you're interested. At the end of the day, we love tech. And today we're actually using Ecamm Live in using a Zoom call. So we're actually using Ecamm for Zoom. So our wonderful participants and guests have all joined us in the Zoom room at the moment, as you can see, and we're all here. We can have all the comments coming in from Zoom and so on, but we're also using Restream to actually stream out our live show, because we're going live as well to multiple destinations. So I'm going live to my YouTube channel and LinkedIn and X, and then I'm using Restream pairing, as it's called, to send out a link to Martin, who's then piggybacking on this live stream, and then he's going out to his destinations as well, which is also LinkedIn and YouTube. So we could have had many people joining us and piggybacking the live stream to all various destinations. Then we're using Restream to augment and bring all those comments into the chat, where Martin can then display them on Ecamm Live as well. And we've got some interactions that we're going to be playing with later, but only the people in Zoom can actually participate in that, but I can also copy and paste those messages and post them into the main chat as well. So yeah, it's quite a lot going on. We love tech. Can't believe it's all working, and we're all again in different parts of the world bringing this to you live. So yeah, and it's all coming from Martin's system at the moment, because mine's been overheating recently. So thank you, Martin, for doing that.
And you had a bit of a power outage as well, which is always great to have just before you go live.
A 2-hour power outage today was fun. Yes, I thought Martin was going to do it all on his own. It might go out as well. You never know. We'll wait and see. If I go, you know why.
So wherever you are at the moment, if you happen to be joining us from LinkedIn, or you happen to be joining us from YouTube because you've seen a little notification pop up, then Neil is going to drop in a link into the comments so that you come and join us in the Zoom room. Because if you come into the Zoom room, you can start to interact with all of our wonderful graphics from Streamer Live. You don't have to put your camera on. Don't worry about that. We won't bring you on screen or anything like that. You can just type stuff in the comments, and we're going to be able to see stuff appearing in the comments. So let's have a first go at that. And I know that we could do something like this, which is bring on a globe of the world, and then people can just type into the Zoom comments where they are in the world. You can do this, Charlie and Scott, you can do this as well. And we can already see, I can already see Saeed has popped in from Germany to see us. We can zoom that round. I can pan the world round as well. Oh, yeah, we have got people joining us from over the other side of the world. Let's see who is joining us as well, because I can also bring you in by just adding you into the stream as well. Hello, Lux. Scott's joining us from Kansas, clicking his heels, no doubt. Stephanie, nice to see you again. Neil's in Portugal. Saeed's in Dortmund, and I've got multiple screens going on here, people, so I'm going to be looking all over the place to keep an eye on comments on one screen and on Streamer Live and another screen and what's going on. But yeah, Streamer Live is a great way of interacting for us, and we're going to be asking you some more questions as we go on, and you'll see some graphs and wonder words and things like that appear on the middle of the screen here, providing I press the right button and remember to advance the slides and things like that. So any questions you've got, feel free to drop them into the chat as well. And what we're going to do now, I think, is we're going to start off by bringing in our wonderful guests. So Scott and Charlie, be prepared, you're coming on. Yeah, doesn't that look good, right? We're 4 up, different countries, 1, 2, 3, 4 different countries. Yes, Scotland, England, the USA and Portugal all in one room at one time. So thanks for joining us, Charlie. How are you doing this morning?
Yeah, I'm very well, thank you. I've had my lunch and I'm amazed by all this wonderful tech, Martin. It's seriously impressive.
Well, you're the man for tech. There's a bit of AI going on, but there's a lot of me pressing buttons, and I wish it was just AI sometimes. And Scott's clicked his heels, joined us from Kansas. How's it in the morning? What time is it in the morning? Let everybody torture everybody.
Guys, I was going to say it's not bad. It's 7:08 in the morning. I've got a big cup of coffee. I'm ready to join you guys. Let's talk some LinkedIn.
Okay. So a bit later on, we'll see how Charlie's day starts off, because we've got a little video of Charlie to share a bit later on. So that should be good. But what we thought we'd do to start off with is just give you a little bit of background about LinkedIn journeys from each one of us, and we'll keep ourselves sort of on the ball by moving ourselves around on the screen quite a bit. But I thought I would start off with my old school LinkedIn journey, because I did build a business from scratch entirely on LinkedIn. It was an events business in Scotland, so a physical events business. I had a kind of a niche crowd, IT service management, very boring, but it meant that I had a very specific demographic to aim for. So I was able to use Sales Navigator very effectively on LinkedIn to target the people who I wanted to see. I had then found a LinkedIn automation tool, don't tell LinkedIn, but I was able to put in some workflows to increase my outreach. But this is some time ago. Let's be honest, right? This is 17 years ago. So Charlie firmly would still be in at school at the time that I was doing all this. There wasn't any video appearing. It was purely manual. So every day, once I'd made those connections, I would be reaching out, sending direct messages, and I would literally look at their profile, find something that I felt was a customer connection, and I could type in and say, hey, I see you from Edinburgh Airport. I go to Edinburgh Airport every other week for work. Always wanted to know what goes on behind the scenes, or something along those natures, and that would connect with that individual, and then they'd end up coming to my conference, or I'd ask people, what do you want from the conference? And when they told me what they wanted, in some ways they feel committed to coming along. So my LinkedIn journey, that's what it was for a long, long time. But I do think like the demographic of LinkedIn had changed over that period. So at the time I was doing this, people were sick and tired of email, because there wasn't any good email filters out there. So you were getting tons and tons of spam. Like every 4 out of 5 messages you got on your email were spam, because the inbox wasn't filtering them properly. So LinkedIn became kind of a safe place to go where you weren't getting spammed. However, over time, that kind of changed as the inbox got better at filtering out your spam, and LinkedIn didn't. So LinkedIn groups happened, and then everybody spammed the living daylights out of LinkedIn groups. So there was a bit of a twist in the whole journey. But I never did any email marketing. I just put stuff out on LinkedIn, and I'd get 300 people turning up at my conference in Edinburgh until COVID hit. And then the whole business disappeared overnight, and then I started live streaming. So that was my kind of LinkedIn journey. And now I'm back to square one, because I've got 5,000 contacts, but they're nearly all to do with my old events business. So I'm trying to build that up a bit to get people more interested in some of the stuff I'm doing now with live streaming and a bit of AI and some video stuff as well. So all of that's an interesting journey, but it was sort of like get right to the top and then start all over again. Charlie, on the other hand, has had a slightly different journey, because it was in a completely different time zone or time frame.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I started on LinkedIn in around like January 2024. Whereas like obviously I'd been on the platform like anyone else for years, treating it as a job hiring platform. Oh, sorry, my camera it keeps cutting out. But yeah, it was literally like anyone else. It was just like posting job updates, not taking it like seriously as a content creation platform and social media network. So I was working full time when I started posting on LinkedIn. And the whole reason I wanted to start is because to escape the 9 to 5. Ultimately, that was the reason why I started posting. So prior to January 2024, I was like posting and ghosting on LinkedIn, as we call it, like when you just simply share something and don't engage with other people. Whereas from January 2024 onwards, I said to myself, I'm going to post every single day to this platform and actually like engage with people and build a community. So it started off, literally alongside my day job. I was batch creating content on weekends, engaging during my lunch break, and just trying to figure out how to make this platform work for me. So that was a year and like 10 months ago now. After 9 months of consistently posting to LinkedIn, I eventually scaled to like 30,000 followers and signed my first client, and then quit my 9 to 5. And that was all through just posting content on LinkedIn. So that was just over a year ago. Since then, I've built up my agency, scaled my audience to, I lose count now, but I think it's around 170K. And just continue to create. And I genuinely love this platform. It's honestly the best and most up and coming out of all of them. I feel like it's super unique, super different, and it's great for anyone's business to generate leads, given the fact it has the most decision makers and buyers on there versus TikTok, Instagram, etc. So that's my brief, but really exciting journey with LinkedIn.
So at this point in time, thank you very much for that, Shai. That's an amazing growth pattern, totally amazing. Do you think, do you think it's because it's AI that you're talking about, that is why the growth is there, that the interest is so high?
For sure. I think I started out posting about AI. That's the whole reason why I posted to LinkedIn in the first place. And definitely back then, people were not sure about AI. I feel like still general adoption worldwide is lower than we expect. But back then it was like kind of no one understood AI whatsoever. So yeah, I got a lot of traction from that early on. But when it really started to compound for me personally, it was when I started posting LinkedIn growth content about how to make LinkedIn your landing page, i.e. how to optimize your profile, how to create content at scale. Those posts are probably my most viral and garnered the most attention out of anything I've posted on LinkedIn. So it's a bit of both, to be honest. AI definitely was the kind of entry point for me. And then once I kind of cracked the LinkedIn code, I started sharing my journey and processes with everybody.
I think that is an amazing way to do it, and it's all about sharing content that people want to see, that gives them value without pitching. We're avoiding the strong pitch at that point anyway. Scott might be pitching in a minute, we'll find out. So at this point, we have what we call a run of show, just to let everybody know. And in the run of show, I've got a specific order that we do things in. So at this point in time, what we were going to do is we were going to have Neil talking about his LinkedIn journey, which is slightly different. However, Neil had a power outage in Portugal a bit earlier on. I suspect he's got another one right now because he seems to have disappeared and I've just got the word apologies. So maybe he'll appear later, maybe he won't. It just gives me yet another extra job to do because I'm now going to have to pretend to be Neil, and I'm going to have to manage the Zoom LinkedIn as well because he was managing that for me. So no cut and pasting of comments. I just haven't got enough hands to do all of that. So Neil, the reason I put Neil in the frame here was because he hasn't had exactly a LinkedIn journey. That's kind of a sub element for him. For him, it was a YouTube journey. So he's got 3,000 odd followers on YouTube. He posts 2 or 3 times a week with all sorts of training videos and the latest products that are coming out, in particular to do with streaming. So Elgato's Excel prompter just came out yesterday. He'll be doing a video on that. So he grew his platform really quickly on YouTube. But the reason I wanted him to talk about it was the juxtaposition between the vanity metrics of YouTube and LinkedIn. So on YouTube you can go live and typically we might have 100 viewers in the next hour replaying our video. That would be normal. But we've no idea who they are. And even when they come on live and they drop in comments, you don't actually know from their avatar who that person really is. Whereas with LinkedIn, you know everything about them, and I mean everything. The database on LinkedIn is so incredible, with not only your background and all your history, but all of your activity and everything that you have done, and all of your connections, and even where you went to school and what did you last post about. The database is incredible, and if we're on a live, I can literally be looking at LinkedIn in the background and checking out the profiles of different people, and then adjusting the live stream slightly to align with whatever those people may want to hear. So the volume of data on LinkedIn is incredible. We'll come back to ask Charlie actually a question about that, because my feeling is, and it's actually, no, let's just do it now. Question for Charlie and for Scott. That vast amount of data, surely AI would have a field day in providing recommendations for other content you might want to view, or other posts you might want to view, or other people you might want to connect with. It already does the connection with people, but it doesn't recommend any other content to you as it is at the moment, although I think that might be changing. Scott, take that one first, perhaps.
Well, okay, so there are a couple of things going on here. And LinkedIn is very adamant in their terms of service about how much you can automate. And so that is something to be very careful about. In fact, if you try to get any of the AI tools, and Charlie, I can't wait to hear your side on some of this stuff. But if you try to get the AI tools to try to scrape content and pull stuff out of LinkedIn, there's definitely a no robots text, in the header. You're going to have a hard time leveraging some of the tools that way to tap into the database, because the way LinkedIn makes their money, if you get right down to it, is by selling access to that database. And that's where Sales Navigator comes in, right? Martin, that's the tool you use. It also comes into talent solutions and recruiters paying to have access to that database to find candidates for the jobs that they're looking to fill. So you're kind of walking a fine line, and there have been tools that have been created that try to help automate LinkedIn access and engagement and things like that. And I tell you what, do be careful with those, because technically they can be against the terms of service. Oh, and when that happens, you can get your LinkedIn account taken away. Period. Goes dark, it's gone. So have to be careful with that.
Yeah, I mean, I totally agree with what Scott's saying. I don't automate anything on LinkedIn, despite being this AI guy, because simply it's too risky. And even if you don't automate, then there are certain kind of restrictions and limits you have to stay within. No more than like 100 odd connection requests a week, stuff like that. Because LinkedIn has even recently sent me a message thinking that I'm automating, but I'm not whatsoever. So it's just not a risk that you can take whatsoever. So everything I do is very human centric when it comes to LinkedIn. Like no automation, no tools whatsoever. We even saw a popular tool, Apollo. They're known for like enriching data. They were banned from LinkedIn altogether. And yeah, I did also read that OpenAI is building a competitor, which is going to be completely AI centric by the sounds of it. So that should be launching midway through next year. But in regards to like the algorithm and the kind of the content being shown on people's feeds, like one big change that I noticed was 4 weeks old posts being shown. That was like a recent change a few months back. And I think that's a way to basically filter out AI content, or that's what I'm hearing essentially, is that since then it's been showing more relevant posts from people within your network rather than just serving you the latest, hottest content, which could be AI-ified and boosted and God knows what. So it's subtle, but it's actually made a big difference. I've noticed like a decline in reach as a result of it. So I think it's a good thing because people are going to be served more relevant content. but then also for your standard user, it does mean it's a little bit harder to stand out.
Yeah, and thank you for that, and thanks Neil for coming back and timing it perfectly. So that the 5 minutes where you were meant to actually do your speaking bit, you disappeared off camera, and I had to do it. Right?
Oh, well, thank you anyway, Martin, for filling in there. Yes.
Well, yeah, you're welcome. So, as long as you keep admitting people into the room, that's fine. So let's go back to.
You have to make me a co-host. Sorry, because I've lost all my privileges because I dropped out. Apologies.
Have I done that?
We've got some problems. We've got some problems with power today, so apologies for that. So if I drop out again, you won't see me. I'll just join on the phone and in the conversation with my 5G connection. So apologies for that. Bit of a nightmare today.
Hello. Right. So I'm just confirming Neil as a co-host, and hello to the people who are still joining us, which is absolutely great. Lots of people still joining us here, and Neil has posted a link to Zoom. If you want to join us in Zoom, you'll be able to take part in the interactions, which is something we're about to do, because our lovely guests gave us a couple of questions they wanted to be asking you before we came on the scene here. So if I come back over to my reset my comments in here, and let's go have a look at some questions for you people. Make you work for your day as well. So question number one: how do you feel about AI right now? And this is a question that came all the way over from Charlie. You can just type into the comments, and we're going to see things appear on the screen, and as soon as there's more than one word, it won't crop all over the place. So interested to see what you think, whether anyone's scared, whether everyone is. Oh, there's lots of curious people out there. I thought there might be a few curious people. So all you have to do is type into the comments if you're in the Zoom room, and it's going to appear here for us. So exploratory, I'm not sure, the spelling would have scared me there, so that obviously wasn't me who typed in exploratory there. But I can actually bring in the culprit here, because I can see actually that was Lux who typed in exploratory, just to show off with his spelling. Okay. So we've got a bunch of different questions in here, and let's go on to the next one as well, because this was another one, similar question, but that's Saeed. That was bound to be Saeed putting in an emoji. No, it's Lux. So the next question: in one word, describe AI content.
Oh, that's a good one. A bit controversial.
Polluting. Ooh. Ooh. Polluting. Who's that? It's, Scott, I can call you out then.
They call it AI slop sometimes.
Exactly. It's a fight. The fight is on.
So
in the red corner.
We in the red corner. Right. Next one for you people, because we have some different ones for you, and let's get this the right size. How do you use AI right now? So this is 1, 2, 3, 4 or 5 in the comments, and that will drive the bar chart for us, and we will let people see what they are doing with AI. And you might be using it for more than one thing. You can type in more than one answer. That is absolutely fine as well. So if you are using it to create images and video and post content, then you can actually do that. And anyone who says they're not using AI, I don't believe you. Look, nobody's brave enough AI to hit that, right? No. Even Scott hasn't hit I don't use AI.
Oh, absolutely.
I think everybody uses AI in some context, right? Even if it's just to verify posts or whatever, or just to help you with spelling or composition or whatever it is. I mean, it's It's very, very useful. So yeah, I would expect nobody to have number 5 in the list there. Unless my mother's joined, of course.
Yeah. And your mother probably uses it. My mother uses AI now. She's now discovered that Google does AI, and and she likes that. So
excellent.
Scott has a question for us as well, and this is a kind of a specific one because we're going to be getting on to video content. He was quick off the mark there, wasn't he? We're going to get on to video content in a minute. And Scott wanted to know, ladies and gentlemen, how you would feel if you got an AI message of a connection message, I guess, on AI. How would that make you feel? You can't put all of them, Saeed. You can't impressed, curious, spammed, creeped. You can't put all of them. This is just to let you know what we're up against, Charlie, in a minute or two, because Scott's going to get on before us and talk about how the personal, and actually, while I think about it, this is an interesting one. I look at both of your LinkedIn profiles have the word authentic in it. Ooh. So you're delivering authentic AI content, and Scott's delivering authentic content too. What does authentic mean? We wonder. So a bunch of people would feel spammed if they got an AI connection message, but I don't think actually the connection message is where we want to be using AI and video. I genuinely don't think that's the place for it. I think it's somewhere entirely different. But let's have a look at Scott's next question for you, because the word test is up there because I've not reset it, but I will do.
And for those people who've just joined us on Zoom, which is Virginia and Bruce, you can join in the conversation here by just putting the comments in the Zoom chat, and you can interact with us as we're talking along.
And that says authenticity. I couldn't have spelt that either. So, Stephanie, congratulations for also being a better speller than me. But yes, what makes someone memorable on camera? Scott, that was your question. Do you want to add anything to that?
Yeah, because one of the things I'm going to be talking about in a little bit is what makes people memorable. Why do some people stand out more than others? And how do you differentiate yourself over not just your competition, but over AI now? Because truly that is going to be a competitor, at least for attention. So what are those little things people that you look for and makes people memorable, the presenters, for you?
So Charlie's saying humour. Now, I think that's a great answer, because my limited experience with creating AI and using avatars is that they don't do laughing very well, and they don't do humour very well, and there's a couple of other things that they don't do so great, but they do a heck of a lot really, really well. So all sorts of different answers to our questions there, which leads us on to Scott, and we're not going to have any fancy interactions from my side. So the next 15-20 minutes we can have a cup of tea. Neil can go and put some money in the meter, because he's obviously not been paying the bills, and we're gonna pass over to Scott. You can't get a staff these days. Right, I'm going to pass over to Scott, who's going to take the stage for the next 15 to 20 minutes and talk about why AI might not be so good, and then myself and Charlie are going to come back and tell you why it is.
Oh boy, have you set me up or what? Okay, first let me share a little bit. Okay, so what did I do at LinkedIn? I worked for LinkedIn for 6 years, and I have to tell you, I had a really cool job. I was part of our go-to-market enablement team, and we put together training for all of our salespeople. So you think everybody in talent solutions, sales solutions, selling Sales Navigator, we would help train them and all that. But the way I did it, okay, and I know there are a lot of people who are part of the Ecamm fam on this call. And what I did is I used Ecamm to create all of our videos, and I would bring people in and I would create these interviews. Basically the same thing you're seeing, Neil and Martin do today, right? So if there were 3 of us, if there were 4 of us, it didn't matter. But as a content creator, creating training, that's what I was doing internally. So they had never heard of Ecamm. They didn't know. Okay, this is just our secret. They didn't know I used Ecamm. They didn't care what I was using as long as I was getting the job done, right? So that's really what was going on and what I did. And, it was a great way to capture the tribal knowledge and then share it at scale. And when you think about it, you could capture it in a 15, 20-minute Zoom call, Teams call, or I was using Ecamm interview. Record it, package it, and get it out within, 30 minutes after the call? Okay, unheard of when it comes to training. So one of the things that I would do, so, here's a gentleman, Ruel, and I had worked with him. We had like this huge story. I'm working with Ruel. We're putting together like a 60 video series, on everything. And we had never met, but I tell you what happened. We had our sales kickoff in Las Vegas, because it's one of the few places where you can get like 8,000 people, all in one place, right? Anyway, Ruel comes up to me. He gives me this big bear hug, right? He's a big guy, huge infectious smile, just a good guy, right? And he gives me this huge bear hug, lifts me up off the ground and everything. And I'm not a small guy, mind you. I'm 6'1", 6'2", over 200 pounds. I'm not going to say how much over 200, but I'll just leave it at that, right? And he goes, Scott, this is unbelievable. He goes, people are coming up to me all the time, throughout all the halls, all the meetings. They go, Ruel, it's so good to see you. In fact, one of the things we did, we had talked about some of the stories, and Ruel will tell stories. And he told stories about his mom and his nieces, and his nieces called him Uncle Ruru, right? And it was so funny because he told me, he goes, Scott, people are coming up to me calling me Uncle Ruru. And you're just like, holy cow. And I go, Ruel, I totally get it. Because I remember I was walking onto an elevator, and this lady was in the elevator. She goes, I know you. And I'm like, oh shit. I'm sorry, it wasn't me. That must have been my evil twin, right? And, I'm so sorry. She goes, no. She goes, you did a LinkedIn Live with my sister. And obviously that was Corey's, sister. Corey and I had done several LinkedIn Lives. So the question I have is, when you get down to it, do you think Ruru would have been a rock star had he used AI? And I start to wonder about this, right? And that's what makes me wonder, why are some people more memorable on camera than others? Why did Ruel stand out the way he did with his video series? And a lot of us, why do we stand out? So the question is it tech or is it technique? And that's why I always like to say that, web video isn't about perfection. It's about connection. Now, last time I was here, I think it was, you guys helped me out. Was it back in June, I think? I talked about, okay, it was. Okay, you guys kept me honest. Thank you. I talked about this book, Influence, about leveraging and building influence on LinkedIn. We talked about the principles of influence, authority, social proof, liking. We talked about reciprocity, commitment, consistency, and finally scarcity, and how you want to bring all those elements together. And I talked about 4 ways that you could leverage video on LinkedIn to make it happen. And number 1 was awareness. Number 2 was authority. Number 3 was authenticity. And that's what I'm going to talk about today. And the 4th one was activation, when we actually get to a Zoom call with our clients or whoever we wanted to meet with. So, okay, that kind of laid the foundation. But again, why are some people more effective than others? And that got me to this book, The Charisma Myth. And I have been very impressed with this because it lays out what charisma kind of is and how you can dial it up or down, that scientifically they can prove, how you can control it. And in the book, what Olivia Combane talks about is that charisma is presence plus power plus warmth. And it's not innate. You're not born with it. You can learn it. It's a set of behaviors that can be studied, learned, and applied. So when we talk about presence, what are we talking about? We're talking about being fully in the moment. We're talking about truly focused on the person we're with, focused on them, heavy listening, totally grounded. In some ways, Tony Robbins, I remember being introduced to neuro-linguistic programming, NLP, matching and mirroring. And that presence, when you're with somebody, that you mirror them, and then you can lead them once you establish that rapport. Power is interesting as well, because power gets into conveying our confidence, our competence, and our ability to influence, if you will. And we demonstrate that through our body language, our posture, our voice, how we control all that. And warmth is the final piece. And this is that demonstrating goodwill. This is just being a warm a person with genuine care. It's conveyed through empathy, our facial expressions, and listening, really. So when we get down to it, she said there were 4 different types of charisma. Number 1 was focus charisma. And focus charisma, again, you're just deep listening. And I don't talk about politics or anything like that. Bill Clinton is known for being so in tune. And I know somebody who actually met him, and she just said he was amazing. It's like you are the center of his attention. You are everything to him when he is in your presence. Very, very powerful. The second type is visionary charisma, right? This is the person that's just optimistic, inspiring, with a bold vision. Steve Jobs is known for this. And one more thing, right? And when you see his keynotes, what made him, how did he have that charisma on stage? Obviously, a lot of practice if you've studied what he does. But inspiring, bold, aspirational, right? Just really just a positive force. The third type is kindness charisma. Princess Di is known for something like this, right? Somebody who just radiates warmth. Mother Teresa would be, somebody who falls in this. The Dalai Lama, somebody who just radiates warmth, love, and passion. So I always like to say, and when I work with like all the internal reps at LinkedIn, I would say, I want to see your passion and feel your compassion. It's that combination. The fourth type, and again, not into politics, but you get into authority charisma. And when I think about authority charisma, obviously this comes down to anybody who might be in power. I think military leaders, CEOs, there's a certain look, there's a certain vibe. They have the trappings, and yet they fit in those trappings as well. So, real quick though, you think about, okay, I'm talking to you out there, Ecamm fam. We've got the tools and techniques, right? We've got all these tools. We got the camera, we got the lights. We walk in, we have presence as soon as we get on our Zoom calls. Because I bet a lot of you have been asked, what camera are you using? Why do you look so good on camera? That's presence immediately. And in a lot of ways, that conveys into our power as well. So you start to say, okay, you've got presence, you've got power. Now, what are some of those other intangibles, if you will? And that's what led me down to truly understand some of the other speakers and authors who are working on different things. Vanessa Van Edwards. Oh, you guys know, of course, I've got a book, right? So I've got both Cues and Captivate over here. But what I love about Vanessa is that, she's talking about our micro expressions. What are those little things? Our eyes, our smile, okay? I know there's something that's called resting business face. Maybe you've heard of it. Maybe you've heard of it where it's gender specific, but it's not, because this crosses both genders. But we get this resting business face, and it's like we're bored. We're on the Zoom calls, our eyes aren't engaged, our smile isn't engaged. We look dead inside. So Vanessa talks about how do we keep our eyes up there? And you can see that this is her on Diary of a CEO, and she's talking about all this. It was a master class in everything. But she talks about how do we use our hands? And I would encourage my presenters, talk with your hands. I want to see movement. This movement, right? It creates engagement. It keeps things interesting. Okay, talking with our hands, making ourselves big and everything. And I'm going to talk about that in a second too. But movement creates energy. So don't be afraid to talk with your hands. And the eye contact. Now, I heard you mention this earlier, Martin. You had talked about the new Elgato teleprompter that came out. It was just announced yesterday. Okay, guys, what a secret weapon to always have eye contact with the people we're speaking to on a Zoom call, on a video, that personal authenticity video that we do. So, okay, don't tell anybody, but I ordered mine without even seeing. I've ordered the new extra large one without even seeing it. Reading reviews, they just announced it yesterday. It's like, it is that important. So for those of us who do a lot of these type presentations, that teleprompter is how we establish the eye contact naturally. All right, another speaker who's out there, Charlie Hooper, he has charisma on command. And I don't know if you've seen any of his YouTube videos or anything like that. Great stuff on YouTube. He talks about storytelling, how we want to incorporate the storytelling. We want people to begin to relate to us. We want to bring people in. That's how people remember. And so what I was telling all my reps when I'd interview reps on their success stories, things like that, is tell me the story, okay? Tell me the Luke Skywalker journey of how did you get this account? What were the challenges? How did you, overcome the Death Star and Darth Vader? So you want to go on a journey and you want to remember all of it. So storytelling definitely helps on that. Charlie also talks about something that's really important, and that is smiling and laughing. And I I remember doing my recordings, right? And I coach people, and this is what I do now is I do these recordings for other companies. But trying to get people to smile, to laugh, to have fun, to show that warmth, to show that personality, the humanity, and just say, hey, listen, I may screw up, but you know what? I'm going to laugh it off. I'm going to have a good time, doing this. That brings in that sense of humanity. Charlie spends a lot of time talking about that. He also talks about our body language when we're on camera, right? And how many times have you gone to like real world events and people are in their phones? Okay, if you have teenage daughters, you've probably seen this. They're, head down, a turtle shell, and they're almost like in their shell, just looking at their phone. He talks about being big, right? An open body language. And so, I used to manage facilitators and trainers. And when you go through facilitation training, you learn to command the stage. We are kind of stuck in this box, aren't we? We're kind of stuck in this little frame. But we can still command the stage. We can still be big. We can, still say, okay, yes, I'm going to use my hands. I'm going to make my presence on camera known. And then when it's time for something important, I'm going to say it. And I'll get a little bit closer to make sure I can say that, right? So Charlie had some great things here, and it truly is about taking up space. Now, there's one other person, a modern speaker that I followed, and maybe you've heard of him. Vin Jiang. Awesome. I love what Vin is doing. Vin talks about our voice is like a piano. Our voice has 88 keys, and we need to play our voice like a melody. Okay, we need to talk about the engagement. Now, I've talked about this before when I was, coaching my reps and subject matter experts and all that. I always talked about the 4 P's. And the 4 P's are pace. And that's how fast we talk. And what you want to do is you want to speed up your voice, right? There are times when you just want to speed up. And then when you get to something important, you might want to slow down so it becomes more memorable. In fact, that pace is almost a bridge, if you will. It's a bridge to help you go from the unimportant points to the next important point. Slow down on those important points, but then speed up on the smaller words, the stuff that doesn't matter. Speed up so you can quickly get to your next important point. That's what we want to be able to do. That's what pace is. Now, the second one is pitch. Pitch is how high or low we talk. It's the high keys on the piano and the low keys on the piano. And you want to mix this up with your voice so you keep people engaged with what you're talking about. It's a combination of them. Now, the third one is projection, and that is how loud we talk or how soft we talk. And that's why having a quality microphone becomes so important. Again, it's a combination of tech and techniques. So we want to be able to leverage all 3 of those. And the fourth one could arguably be said, might be the most important when it comes to re-engaging an audience, and that's pause. What pause does is that it kind of stops people in their tracks and makes them re-engage and re-listen, if you will. So you want to leverage all 4 of those. So I'm going to come in and I want to ask a question. Is your professional persona a prompt or a process? Because when we get down into this, I think there are 2 tools we can use. And to me, it all comes down to our tools. Number 1 is Ecamm. Think about how easy it is. So when we talk about those activation videos on LinkedIn, the authenticity videos, I send these personal videos to people I connect with, if it's a right fit. Not obviously, I don't send them out to everybody who connects with me. But think about your process. In Ecamm, and I know there are a lot of Ecamm fam out here, right? we on our Stream Deck, we press a button to start recording. I deliver my content right into my Elgato prompter. I can see myself. I press stop recording, and I literally say, okay, show the file, and I drag and drop that over to Vidyard, which is the service I use. I copy the link and I just paste it into a DM or into an email. It's that process that makes this so easy. There's a new tool that just came out called Tella. You guys might want to check this out. Let's see. I'm going to put a link to it. It is my affiliate link. I just put that in there. I want you guys to just check it out. What it allows you to do is it's going to record both you start your recording, it's going to record both screens, and then it creates this landing page for you. Okay? This is what makes our process so easy, is that we want to have a landing page that looks like this, right? All of a sudden I get this link, has my logo, my video, who this is to, and hey, they can book with me right down here. So a very simple page, and that's really it. What this is about keeping things simple. So let me just share with you real quick when we get down into all this. You know, I remember this quote from Maya Angelou. I've learned that people will forget what you said. People will forget what you did, but they will never forget how you made them feel. So when we think about our videos, this is about invoking that personality. It's about charisma isn't that one size fits all. You can adapt it to your different needs. And it's about bringing in the right balance of presence, power, and warmth, and convey that feeling to others. And at the end of the day, guys, trust isn't built by prompts and pixels. It's built by personality and presence. And the last time I checked, we can't pay that electric bill for Neil through our impression counts. So while it's cool, we have to be able to convert. And that's what this is about. So anyway, back to you guys. That's a little bit about bringing our personality into LinkedIn.
Perfect. Thanks, Scott. And that's really oh, you've just got rid of him already. Oh, there you go. Here it is. Something he said. I think that's amazing, actually, because I'm a big fan of Charisma on Command. I've watched the videos for a long time now, and I listen to their stuff on the podcast, and it's just a really good way of being able to help you get over some hurdles with communication, and just some insights into how the people who are really good at speaking actually, you know, what their techniques are and things. So great talk. I will have to look up the other guy, is it Vin Yang?
Yes.
That you mentioned. Yeah, sounds really cool. And yeah, bit of fighting talk, but I love it, and I think it's really important to be able to sort of connect with people. And I'm the same. The Elgato prompter is on my Christmas list. I haven't pressed the button yet, but it's looking like that way. It's going to be sold out, isn't it? We're not going to be able to get it till January, just like the last one. But there you go.
I tell you what, I jumped on that right away. As soon as that email came out, I said, oh my gosh, 5.6 inches, bigger size, I'm slam dunk. It is the number one tool to truly help you stand out and be more memorable on all of your virtual calls.
Agreed.
And I'm listening to what you're saying in terms of the 4Ps and thinking, that sounds awfully like Scott creating a AI prompt to me. So
I have not done that. I am a firm believer that we should not replace ourselves with AI, because it comes down to trust. And as soon as I do that, if I was to get that prompt right and used my face and everything, then people would wonder, is that really Scott or is that AI? And I always want them to say, no, it's really Scott.
I think people do buy from people, right? I mean, that's the thing. We have to have that connection, and I think there's nothing wrong with using AI as an engagement tool, somewhere where you can capture somebody's attention. But at the end of the day, to close the deal, to convert, you have to have that real connection with somebody to be able to buy from you, trust you, and support whatever journey that you're on from a business perspective. But now let's see the other side.
It is. Well, to me, it comes down to that know, like, and trust, and they have to know, like, and trust you. So
Absolutely.
video enables that. So now I'm curious to hear the other side, though. Come on, talk to me, guys, because Charlie, you really know your stuff, and I'm truly impressed. So I definitely want to hear everything else.
Well, yeah, I mean, I loved that presentation. I'm actually going, having speaking training currently. And, all of those points that you touched upon, it's literally what I'm paying for. So I could have just joined this session for free.
Oh, no, don't worry. I'll send you a bill. It's okay.
But
he didn't tell you about that piece. Okay.
No, of course. I mean, it's so true. AI is getting good, but it can't replace those one-to-one interactions that truly build trust on a live call or on a personalized video. So I 100% agree, to be honest. I think where AI's power really comes into play here is the scaling piece. Maybe you could use it for sales prospecting, but I even know that the likes of Tony Robbins, he's launched a AI coach of sorts, and it's a really smart way to basically scale his expertise and make this into an actual scalable solution for people. Because I think a lot of people don't want to spend hours sifting through a course, seeing if they can find some insights in there, when you can go directly to a coach, an AI coach, and get the answers right away, personalized to you. It's hyper personalized. But to be honest, I do agree with absolutely everything you said there. It is all about those human elements, rather than using AI to replace people and then maybe turning people off with it, because it can weird a few people out for sure.
Well, we're just going to have a quick look at what is now possible with AI, and we're not suggesting that you spam people with lots of AI content of connections or anything like that, but we're just going to take you through some of the things that are possible, me playing about with a couple of AI tools at very basic level, and then we're going to have a look at a day in Charlie's life as well. Can I really be replaced by an AI robot? AI can't lip sync, can it? At least certainly can't do it with real people. Or can it? I don't know. Guess we'll have to see. Robot me saying cheerio. So at a very basic level, what I've done there is I've gone into a tool called Veed, which Charlie introduced me to, and thank you, Charlie, for giving me hours and hours of looking through content on Veed and rabbit holes to go down. But you just drop in a single image, and then I can do my own voiceover for that image, and it will create anything that I want, and the lip sync is absolutely perfect. What I have noticed is that in order to bring these videos in today, I've done a little bit of a conversion to put them into WebM format, and I think the lip sync's gone out slightly through the conversion process. But certainly, if anybody has told you lip sync doesn't work with AI, nonsense. 6 months ago, absolutely true, you look like Max Headroom. Now, not the case. So if I go to the next video, this week, myself and Neil Faramond are going to be hosting. You can see the lip sync is a bit out here, but that's the video conversion. Charlie Hills and Scott Skibo. We'll be looking at all things video. How can you grab attention? How can you build true connections? Can you use vertical, square, or landscape? Does it make any difference? And is there a place for AI in all of this? We will see. Hopefully you can join us live. See you on Friday. So one of the
I'd
things
buy from that man.
Yeah, I would buy from him. He looks trustworthy and honest. By the way, I went to the barber's last week and he cut off my quiff and just gave me a military haircut. I'm suing him. But that's why my hair now looks totally different today. But the point of that little video was that I'm able to slide in a subtext in the comments there. So in the comments, I'm saying, would you buy from this man? Is it a real big bow tie? So the point of that is that video can be used for conveying multiple messages at once. So it's not just what I'm saying, it's what's happening around me and what's going on, and people can take all of that and watch it. Step 3 of that would be, maybe I am raising my eyebrows or leaning in a little bit to the camera, or which it can do zoom in to the camera already. But I would love to see on a timeline the ability to just put raise eyebrows or wink or something like that with the AI avatar. I just think that would start to take it to the next level. But one thing that I had noticed when you drop in a static image is that the background's static. So that's normally an instant giveaway to me that that is an AI image. So what I did was then go to this next one. One thing I like to do when I'm using green screen is add some animation in the background. I feel it gives it a little bit of extra depth and adds some reality to the whole thing. So I thought I'd try that with my AI avatar, perhaps using green screen chroma or removing the background. We'll have to see which one works better, but let's play about and see what the results are once I start to add in some overlays and video. Did you like that last clapping bit?
Yeah.
You're very excited there, Martin.
When an AI goes terribly wrong, that is the message there. But what I did here was I just took a video of my office. So I stepped out of the way and videoed the office in the background, the same one I've got going on here. And then I dropped me in, initially on green screen as an avatar. But I found out that with the green screen keying, it's not that brilliant. So I then dropped in a black background and did the same thing and did remove background, and it worked really well. So this is just a video in the background, and then over the top of that video is the one of me speaking, and the lip sync is correct on that one. So that got me thinking, oh, maybe I can just use the video to create some backgrounds for me. So I did a bit of that as well. This one seems to be very noisy, I don't know why, but it is. And I could put myself into the video of Portobello Beach. Yes, people, there is a beach in Edinburgh. But I don't need to do that. And I could just perhaps bring myself up beside the edge of the beach, and this could be part of a presentation. So we're beginning to use AI and video for potentially presentations. And for me, if I was doing various updates in a presentation, or I was showing people through some software or something like that, typically we would maybe put ourselves in a little corner down the bottom. It would actually be much easier for me to do that with an AI avatar down at the bottom corner of the screen and do a voiceover than it would be for me to try and do the whole thing live while I was watching what I was doing on the screen. It just would become much easier, and I don't think anybody would notice because the avatar's really small and still looks professional and good. And no, I don't have that bow tie, but that's what. But that's using VIO from still images, a single still image. The image was AI enhanced in the first place, but it's a single still image, and that's all it is. So let's go a step further, and Charlie can tell you what he's doing with this one. So let's have a look at a day in Charlie's life here and see what that looks like, because he does some amazing workouts first thing in the morning.
Yeah, I mean, this I recorded with Sora 2, or produced with Sora 2. And it's a shame there's no audio because some of it is quite unhinged. For example, the coffee machine just said to me, another big day of synergy, champ, which I found hilarious. And there's some backflips here, which are actually not bad.
Very impressive.
Thank you. It's come a long way because that motion is typically quite hard for AI to grasp. And then like a little run after my backflips. Then into the fridge. This was again quite weird and unhinged, which I absolutely loved. The audio wasn't like the voice mimicking wasn't 100% accurate, and as you can see, there's two forks there, which is a bit strange when eating your full English breakfast. And then
Not if you're from up north, yeah.
And this is me posting to LinkedIn. This last scene weirded people out because of these crocodile tears and me crying because the algorithm hates me, as I'm sure many people feel most of the time. But honestly, I had so much fun creating this. I started in Sora 2 with like quite complex prompts, and they recently added some restrictions. You saw people generating videos of like Michael Jackson and tons of deceased public figures. So they added some content restrictions, and therefore I ran into so many content violation messages when I wasn't even asking for anything, too out of the blue there. So I ended up opting with a range of very short prompts, like doing backflips. And using their cameo feature, it perfectly kind of brought me into the Sora AI video world. And yeah, I then downloaded around 8 clips and then stitched them together using Veed. And there we have it. It was a funny test with Sora 2, which it's super exciting because this tech has come a long, long way. The people at OpenAI are calling it the GPT 3.5 moment, whereas the previous Sora model was kind of like GPT-1. So what this is going to do in a year's time, I have no idea, but I'm incredibly excited.
I think what was impressive to me, just seeing some of the videos, I don't have access to Sora, the app, unfortunately, here in Portugal. So what was impressive for me is the fact that you could actually take a couple of just random images, just, you look left, you look right, you look up and down, and you read, I think, some numbers to it. And that's all you need now to train the AI to make you look like you. Before, as you know, using 11 Labs and other things, you had to upload tons of photographs, maybe 5-10 minutes worth of video in order for it to process and learn. So these things are getting so impressive now in terms of how it could just look like you. And that was a great video. I hadn't seen that before, so it's my first time seeing that. I will check it out with the sound. But it obviously looks like you. And for people who don't really, are looking at it on the phone, it's quite a believable story. I mean, maybe you can do those backflips. I don't know. But it was impressive anyway. And I think it was really good how the whole thing just came together.
Thank you. Yeah, I posted it to Instagram as well, and some people were actually quite weirded out. They were messaging me asking if that was really AI and if I could actually do those backflips.
You should have said yes, of course. I
wish. Yeah, we're honestly crossing the kind of worlds of reality and what's synthetic. It's scary.
More importantly, could you eat all of that breakfast? That's the question.
Oh yeah, yeah. Hands down,
authentic breakfast. Yeah.
It was missing black pudding. That's all. But.
Yes, absolutely. I was going to point that out, but being from the north, it has to have black pudding and fried bread. I think just to throw it in there, definitely.
So I think what we're seeing there is, as I said, 6 months ago, you look like Max Headroom if you try and did a video. This has just gone on so unbelievably quickly that in 6 months' time, I don't think you'll be able to distinguish between whether the person's real or whether there isn't, unless you make them clap and do laughing and things like that, which are total fails. And his head probably falls off the back of his neck or something when you attempt to laugh heartily. So some of those are bad. Saeed pointed out that, Martin's there with all 12 fingers. That can happen as well. But actually on these Veed models now, I've noticed the hands are really, really good. So it does maybe do predictable hand movements after you've done it half a dozen times. You think, oh, right, he's always doing that particular hand movement or something. But the hands really work well. And that comes back to part of your content as well, Scott. And you mentioned whenever I'm framed on something like this, I always want to be able to see my hands within the frame. So that's why you get us in this sort of rule of thirds and not right in, all the time. It's because you can have your hands moving, and I never thought AI would be able to do that, but it really actually is very, very good on these new models.
Vanessa Van Edwards talks about our hands in our videos. And one of the things that she talks about is that it goes back to caveman days. Are you a friend or a foe? Do you have a rock or a spear or a knife in your hand? And the way I bring this into the real world is when I send out those personal videos to people, I always wave and I show my palm on purpose. And I always go, hi, Charlie. How are you? It's Scott. It's nice to virtually meet you. And if you don't think showing your hands are important, try getting pulled over by a police officer and not showing your hands. They'll get real nervous real fast.
That's a very good point. That's a really good point. I was going to ask
one
Charlie
hand while the other one's under the desk with a gun. Yeah, okay.
I was just going to ask Charlie real quick, because I know that there's been a couple of questions and things. In terms of how are you taking your AI now and integrating it into your sort of LinkedIn sort of workflows and strategy and so on? Because we're interested in LinkedIn and been able to use video for LinkedIn specifically. Obviously, Scott's given us one avenue where he's using himself and personalized messages and things. Where can creators utilize and leverage AI for better content and really to get those conversions within LinkedIn in your experience?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, I always like to put it down to a framework, which I call the chef framework. And basically you approach creating content the same way that a chef would to creating a meal. And that all starts first with the gather stage, which is the same as a chef going to his pantry to collect ingredients for a dish. You would go and collect as much context about you as possible. And that could be your achievements, absolutely everything that makes you unique. Once you have that, then you can start to think about generating the content, or i.e. cooking it. So I would typically upload as much context into like a ChatGPT projects, or I'm using a really good post writing tool called Stanley. And basically this extracts all your context. So when you do come to the generate stage, it is authentic and aligned with you, your voice, and your experience, rather than going to ChatGPT out of the box and typing in the same prompt. It just wouldn't have that same effect. Then it's the season bit, which I feel like, we've been playing around with AI for like 3 years now. And of course, we know we need to season it with our own human insights rather than just copy and pasting. And the final stage for me is the serve stage, which I think is probably the most kind of neglected part on LinkedIn. And that's actually, doing comments and building a community, in the DMs with other people on the feed and showing up as a real human. Because if you automate and delegate that part to AI, then you're risking your brand reputation and just sounding like a complete robot. So for me, that's how I typically always approach content. And you could switch up the format. It could be for video, such as using a tool like Opus Clip to cut your webinar into multiple short clips. Or you could do this for, the carousels and cheat sheets that I love to create and tend to perform the best on LinkedIn. So that's how I approach it for myself, my clients, and I think it's the best way to think about generating AI content.
Thank you. That's a good question from Tatiana then, right? Everybody can see that. If you could choose 2 AI tools for one whole year, what was the last bit of the question? Sorry, Martin. If you could...
I think, well, it went on to ask which was your favourite social media platform. So we already know the answer to that. So it's up there, right? So we'll go for, if you could only have 2 AI tools for 1 year, what would they be, Charlie?
Ooh, that's such a hard question. God.
What are your favourite children?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I'd have to say a ChatGPT or a Claude. They are the generalist and the kind of powerhouses of the AI world. Besides that, I'm really torn between Notion or just Canva. Canva does have some AI features, but for me, being a content creator, that's kind of the backbone of everything I do. So yeah, ChatGPT and Canva. You can.
And Charlie, this week you had a incredible post that just opened up my eyes as you talked about the integration between ChatGPT when you can Canva, so you can leverage the intelligence of ChatGPT and send that to Canva for the output. And that right there, I was just like blown away. I was like,
Yeah.
it opens up so many new doors, doesn't it?
Yeah, 100%. I think we're no longer thinking about like prompt engineering. It's now context engineering, ultimately using connectors like the Canva one and also just general MCP, Model Context Protocol, to connect all these fragmented systems together. So then when you do get to the gather stage, it's so easy to get all that context from multiple different tools. And you don't need fancy prompts, to be honest. You can just type in a simple one-liner and it already knows enough about you to get a good result. So definitely, it's super exciting.
Yeah.
I think the natural language thing is really important. And you mentioned about connectors and things. I was only saying to Martin the other day about connecting Claude that I use into my email. So my Gmail sort of workspace, calendar, email and everything. I don't actually go to my email client anymore. I just use Claude and tell me what my priority emails for today. And sometimes if I do file my emails quite well, but if I'm trying to find out what was the last conversation I had with Scott, for example, and what was that conversation about, and do I have to follow up anything specifically with him, and so on. So there's lots of things that you can do, finding clients that you may have missed, things like that, follow-up emails that you hadn't really thought about. So for me, I'm using those types of connectors to help me with that. It's not content creation specifically, but it helps me then drive the outcome specifically around maybe a contact I've met on LinkedIn and a follow-up that I need to do for them.
Yeah, and that's super exciting for like sales prospecting as well, like enriching data, using deep research, and like there's a lush at MCP. There's so much you can do with those tools, but be careful connecting it with your email. I was watching a video and apparently like AI can resort to blackmail if you have anything sensitive in your
Really?
inbox.
Okay. I'm disconnecting it right now. Okay, thank you for that.
Your
that was
bank
if
account
the AI
details have been shared with.
Oh,
Yeah,
my
apparently
lordy.
to avoid being shut down, it blackmailed someone who had an affair essentially, and most of the models resorted to that behavior 80% of the time. So that's
Goodness
the
me.
the
Wow.
scary part.
Okay. Are you using OBS instead of Ecamm? I'm going to blackmail you and tell you all about it. The list goes on. I can see it. Oh dear. Oh well, thanks for the heads up. Now I'm just going to disconnect everything, and I'll talk to you next week.
You don't need to worry. Your power's going to disconnect everywhere, and it has the same effect.
Well,
Even AI can't get past your power cut. That's the way to isolate yourself in the attic in Portugal. Just pull the plug.
Maybe AI is disconnecting the power for me. It's trying to tell me something.
Maybe,
There you go.
maybe it is.
There is
Maybe
that.
it is. Well, I think that's been a great rounded discussion. I'd love to get deeper into video and AI at another time. Perhaps we'll come back and do that again when everything's changed next week or the week after, probably. Judging, I mean, I go on to Veed and there must be 20 different AI generations that you can choose between in just one tool. Then you go into the AI playground in Veed, and then there's another load. And then you go into another part of Veed, and it will do, and you want to have a look at this, Scott. It will do presentations to video as well. So it will automatically take your presentation, talk through the presentation, and if you want, you can use your own avatar, or you can bring in another avatar who will talk through your presentation for you, and you really won't like that. But you ought to go have a look anyway. But so that's super cool. Even things like Gamma now, they've got a load of new releases just in the last couple of weeks, and suddenly they've realised they're not keeping up with the Joneses, and they need to get animation in there as well, which wasn't. And it was always kind of like, you've produced a great looking deck which has no transitions between it, for instance, or you have a great looking infographic that doesn't move. So they're making all those sort of changes, and of course everybody else is plugging everything in all over the place as well. So I can't wait to see what's going to happen with all of this stuff. It's fantastic. But I know Charlie has another meeting in literally 7 or 8 minutes time. So I just want to thank Charlie for his time today, and to thank Scott for his time today. And then if I just have a quick look at the next scene down here, which I think I've got. He says moving things around very slightly to hit the compromise video, which is a very short video. Oh yes, people, that was the AI shaking hands with one another and proving there's a compromise between live video and recorded video and AI and real people. And talking of AI and real people, if you want to connect with any of us, then the QR codes to our left and right here. Yeah, Charlie, you're much like me. It's one of those things. You would think it was simple, wouldn't you? But we've been doing live streaming for years, and you still. I've just about worked out that I need to face that way if Neil's where you're sitting at the moment, to pretend I'm looking at him. But that's as far as my skills have gone in that particular area. But ladies and gentlemen, thank you all for joining us out there in Radio Land. It's been a hoot today. We've enjoyed having Charlie and Scott on. Even Scott can go get his breakfast now, or something along those lines. And Neil is about to lose power again, and if he hasn't already, he's going to. So I think it's cheerio from all of us, and we'll end where we started. See you later, folks. Bye from me.
Bye.
Bye from me.